Thank you all for being here today. I'm very excited to spend this next hour together. Today's presentation is going to be an overview of aging and dementia care for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I'm going to start with this aerial view of Pathfinder Village, which is an intentional community for people with Down syndrome and other types of intellectual and developmental disabilities located in upstate New York. Pathfinder provides services and programming for children, teens, adults, and has become a recognized model of care. And in 1996, the Kennedy Willis Center on Down syndrome was established and was built at the village. And in 2002 became a separate 501c3 nonprofit. And the center is a resource center that provides best practice in the areas of training, research, education, and program development for individuals, families, and professionals in the disability community. The center has an established network of partners, including the National Task Group on Intellectual Disability and Dementia Practices. We work closely with Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Elder Care out of Philadelphia, Colgate University out of upstate New York. Our staff are facilitators of trainings through Second Wind Dreams, and we also support research efforts through New York State's Institute for Basic Research with the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. I wanted to share some current aging statistics. I think this is really important to start off, and so much of what I'm going to share with you today is coming from all of these lived experiences and knowledge that we've learned and the center has learned and gained from the population at Pathfinder. So currently, we have 61% of adults at Pathfinder certified settings are aged 40 or older, 30% of whom have a current diagnosis of dementia. And you can see below at the bar graph, those are the age ranges of the people that have the diagnosis of dementia. The average age of diagnosis out of this population is 49 years old, which was trending a little bit younger than the national average, which tends to run in the 50s. And I think a lot of that comes from some intentional awareness and monitoring of their baseline, being able to watch for changes, and we'll talk about ways to do that in the future. But that has really helped us see things and see changes sooner to help provide care that they're going to need in the future. So some of the center's current responsibilities and priorities in response to the data that I just shared has really been to partner with leading healthcare and academic experts in the field of IDD and helping to inform best practice in aging and dementia. We've expanded our consultative work out into the Northeast, and the center's priority is to provide families and community-based organizations with the resources and tools that they need to deliver the best care across the lifespan for the people that they love and serve. And we do that through a variety of different means, including education and outreach. So a training such as this. We work closely with community-based provider agencies to help strengthen skill and knowledge capacity for their workforce, specifically their direct support professionals. We support program enhancements and special projects. And we also help with recommendations for physical environments. So just some objectives I wanted to put in for the purposes of today's presentation. We're going to start with a general overview of aging and dementia. Next, we're going to look at discussing some of the organizational considerations and how to support an aging population. We're going to highlight some practical tools and strategies, and we're going to end by reviewing some available aging and dementia services. So I think this presentation is important for really a lot of reasons, but primarily it's because people are living longer. People with intellectual and developmental disabilities are living longer than they ever have before. Life expectancies are increasing, and we have data from 2019 that's showing that individuals with intellectual disability are living between 61 and 62 years of age on average. People with intellectual disability and Down syndrome are living closer to 57 years on average. And because of that increased life expectancy, we know that the care that's needed for the person is going to become more, and it's going to become more complex. And there appears to be right now a lack of available resources to meet long-term aging needs. And I would say that we're seeing that on a national level. And what our hope is, and the center is attempting to do, is try to reduce the progression of this crisis level situation that's impacting individuals, families, and providers that are stemming from age or cognitive decline challenges. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit more about aging. We're going to look at what is normal aging and expected aging, and then we're going to shift and look at to some pathological aging or unexpected aging. So as we all know, aging is progressive. As soon as we're born, we're aging. Aging varies by person, and it's impacted by a variety of different things, including our genetics, things like our lifestyle, could be our food and our drink consumption. It could be our sleeping habits or patterns, our physical activity level and activity. Could also include things like the environment where we choose to live, to work, and to play or pursue recreational hobbies that we have. And aging is also impacted by our attitude. Optimism and happiness is associated with longer life expectancies. So try to build that more into your life, into the people that you care for. And they say that people that are showing more happiness or more optimism in their day are demonstrating healthier behaviors and probably able to manage stress a little bit better. So I thought that was important to share. When we look at normal aging, these are the types of things that are expected for all of us. We are going to see changes to our motor functioning as we age, things like a decrease in our strength, decrease in our flexibility. We may see increased pain, increased stiffness as we grow older. We're going to have changes to our sensations, things like our vision and hearing. Likely, many of us are going to need eyeglasses, maybe bifocals or hearing aids as we age. Digestion tends to slow and metabolism tends to slow as we age. We tend to also see expected changes in our cognition related to memory and thinking. Older people can learn new things, new tasks, and it may just take us a little bit longer to do that as we age. And lastly, some other expected changes include our reaction time and processing time tends to decrease. So now we're going to look at some of these unexpected changes or pathological aging. This would be something that's occurring in our body due to age-related disease and is different from normal aging. So sometimes what we'll see is the development of chronic health conditions. That could be development of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, different types of cancers. The prescription of multiple medications or polypharmacy is another type of challenge for us as we continue to age. I just read a study very recently where it was talking about the prescription of more than 4 medications for a person and increasing fall risk by about 20%. So that's a scare for us and a scare for the people that we support. Having and using multiple medications can also increase risks for dehydration. It can complicate things in terms of side effects with the drugs interacting negatively with each other. And it can also just be complicated for the person themselves as they're trying to remain independent to give their own medication, or also challenging for the caregiver who's helping them with that. As we look at what aging does and what happens to our brain as we grow older, good news is that developing dementia is not a given or not a guarantee, but there are going to be changes in our brain, things like a decrease in size as we age and changes to the neuron connections. We may see interruptions or damage to the neurons, and that's important because the responsibility of the neurons is to send and receive information from our brain to the rest of our body. So we're going to see some challenges with that as we age. And also we'll see things like some mild forgetfulness. We might be mixing up information and taking a little bit longer to adapt to or process new information or new activities. So when we think about continuing the thought with the changes in our brain and where this could potentially lead is another type of the pathological aging component, which is dementia. Dementia is a group of symptoms, really an umbrella term for that, and it includes the loss of intellectual functioning, primarily focused in the areas of reasoning, problem solving, and memory. There's changes to a person's personality, their mood, and their behavior. And when someone develops dementia, the symptoms need to be severe enough to interfere with daily functioning. It's not something where we just say 1 or 2 occurrence of something, oh, all of a sudden the person has dementia. That's not typically how that works. You want to see something that's very progressive, that's happening repeatedly and impacting a person to the ability of getting through their day. The likelihood of developing dementia increases with age. And unfortunately, at this time, it is progressive and there is not a cure. I wanted to talk about a couple of the other components of dementia as it affects the people that we serve in our communities. Things like memory, which is going to challenge things like the recent events, recent conversations are harder to bring up and to recall. Challenges with previously learned skills, including our language. That might be where we're looking at people forgetting the names of people, forgetting the names of an object of something. Also challenges with the ability to focus and pay attention. So challenges with concentrating or making decisions. We also see dementia impacting things like reasoning and judgment. I think of the example I just shared recently was we're getting ready for our day, we're getting ready to go on with work or whatever we're doing for our day. We look outside to see what the weather is and it's raining. A person with dementia is going to have difficulty knowing that they need to bring a raincoat, they need to carry an umbrella, maybe they even need to cancel or change their plans because that requires a little bit more reasoning and judgment. Dementia can also impact things like our sensory perception. They do experience changes to their senses. Sometimes it may look like misidentifying or misperceiving things incorrectly. And dementia can also impact the ability in the way that we sequence our tasks. So a lot of multi-step directions or information that's coming with multiple tasks tied to it can be challenging. So that is kind of the first part of this. I wanted to really just hit on what normal aging is and maybe what unexpected or dementia type of cognitive change is. And now I really just want to look at how do we support that as an organization and what are some considerations that we should keep in mind as we're caring for an aging population. We're going to touch on things like expanding awareness, identifying some long-term vision, and then how do we align our services and supports to meet the needs of the population. So I think all of this, none of this is new to anyone that's on the call. You know, having provider agencies consider long-term planning needs of the individuals you support is obviously very important, and I'm sure something that all of you are doing. I really would like you guys to think about this as a form of strategic planning. So maybe next time you're participating in some of that type of activity with your organization, carve out some time to think about what are the long-term planning needs of the individuals that you serve, not just now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and how or what are we going to need to modify, add, change to support them best. Continuing to participate in ongoing learning and training, especially as it relates to age and cognitive related change. And then even considering conducting an agency needs assessment is another thing that an organization could consider. Looking at things like our inputs and our outputs and our outcomes, are important to think about for long-term planning, because as we just talked about previously, the type of care is going to become more, and the complexity of care is going to become more, which may impact our workforce and what type of education or skills that the workforce is going to need, our infrastructure, what are our buildings, our homes, our sites going to need to do, and how are they going to need to feel and look like, and all of that is going to take resources. So I just listed a couple examples down there of thinking about those things of our inputs, our workforce, different stakeholders, maybe our volunteer groups, our board of directors, and how much time and money do we have to put towards these things? And if it's not where you want it to be, how do we change that for the future? When I think about future vision, I know the aging in place phrase is something that's pretty common. I think it's a really good term in thinking about how we're caring for people for their lives. Something that the center has really thought about in a different mindset has been aging in progression, which is really an approach that offers comprehensive and person-centered strategies so people can live independently to the greatest extent possible for as long as possible. So we're going to touch on a couple of these different focus areas in terms of workforce and leadership. Again, thinking about our infrastructure and then how do we support families and natural supports. Aging in place is something where we think that maybe this person that we're caring for is going to be able to live in the same home for their entire lives. I think a lot of that has changed over the last few years, maybe the last decade. And so aging and progression is more of this focus on meeting that person through those different transitions to support them throughout their entire life. So under workforce and leadership, continuing to offer your staff and your leadership opportunities to participate in ongoing education and training. I think the more that we learn about the changes of aging and dementia-related changes, we can increase skills, we increase knowledge, and we increase capacity and empathy to understand what a person is going through. Something else to consider may be establishing committees or other types of organizational processes that can promote efficiency, that can promote good communication, especially if your organization is, at different places geographically and not just on one main site. It's a great way to think about. Something the center that has been able to help other provider agencies with has been to build different interdisciplinary aging committees. That's been a really great way to pick and identify some good leaders in your organization, come together and to think about how you're supporting the people that you have now, and then where do you want to take it in the future. And then, of course, connecting with subject matter experts. These are the people that are going to help broaden knowledge, help us learn things that we don't have knowledge of already, and trying to remember to not ignore and overlook different organizations like civic organizations, colleges and universities. They've been a wonderful help for us at the Kennedy Willis Center. Wonderful evidence-based research and knowledge and skill and program development can happen with the help of students and professors. So the next couple of slides is going to look at different infrastructure considerations. So different things to keep in mind for your residential homes, maybe your living spaces, program sites, or enrichment spaces, and keeping in mind ways to ensure they're accessible and safe, that they're able to promote meaningful activity, comfort and security, and maybe even considering a step-down option for people as we think about that age and progression mindset. So I wanted to share this slide, and the next slide is just, again, a couple considerations to keep in mind. Perhaps if you're looking to update some of your current homes, day programs, or other sites, or maybe you're looking to build something new entirely, I would say flooring and lighting. If you have the resources to put into these two spaces, you're going to get your largest gains from here. So when we're thinking about flooring and how does this impact people who are developing maybe cognitive change, obviously, the floors need to be free of physical obstructions. We're going to try to avoid things like busy patterns, dark colored rugs, or carpeting. And likewise, we're going to try to avoid high glare surfaces, which can often be found in bathrooms and kitchens. We want to think about the durability of the space and how easy it is for our staff or the individuals to upkeep or maintain them. If you look to the top photo with the person with the shoes showing kind of a neat looking carpet, but definitely not a dementia friendly carpet. We can see a lot of contrasting colors, a lot of different patterns and textures. In the middle, you can see some of the vertical dark lines. And to me, even looking at it from here, it looks like perhaps this could even be a step. So it could be carpeting going down a stair. So I think about this, and maybe if we're wanting to avoid this type of carpeting or flooring, the person may have a hard time ambulating. They may refuse to walk over it, which can be very frustrating for them and for their caregiver. Below, when we think about lighting, a person with dementia is going to require 30% more light than you and I do. So this is the reminder to turn on the lights when you're entering the room, and it's okay to keep them on. We want to try to reduce shadows, glares, and reflections as much as possible. And we want to lean into natural light versus artificial light, again, as much as possible. So if you've got some really nice windows in your homes or your spaces, try to get those blinds open and the curtains open as much as possible. Considering use of motion activated options is a really good cost-effective strategy instead of trying to go in and do something more extreme. That can be really helpful, especially in the bathrooms and the kitchen areas. And lighting is important because it can activate our circadian rhythm, which is what helps us get that good type of sleep that we need. So I put in a picture again. These are kind of pictures of maybe what not to do, or if maybe this is a picture of something that you have in one of your homes or program sites. It looks very clean and orderly. The artwork's in the back, but you can see how dark it is. They've just got the small light on. They maybe have a couple in the ceiling, but what it's doing is the chair is almost difficult to see. You can see a lot of glare shining up from the ceiling, And you can also see kind of that opening to the bedroom is completely black, which could look like a hole. It could be very scary. And it's likely that maybe a person going through dementia may feel nervous or uncomfortable sitting there. Two other pieces of infrastructure considerations I wanted to share with you to incorporate that do not cost a lot of money are things like incorporating wayfinding tools. So clear, easily visible, color contrasting ideas, things that are easily recognized symbols. You can see the pictures on the drawer, helping a person to just recall where their items are going. And wayfinding cues can also help with line of sight orientation. So the larger picture of the colored doors, I know a lot of times, many of our homes, the homes that you and I live in as well, our bedroom doors all look the same. They're typically a off-white color with a a standard doorknob, and they're very unrecognizable from another door to another part of your home. So this, I found this online when I was searching some dementia-friendly locations and thought this was really neat. These are just coverings in front of a person's bedroom door. You could have the person pick their favorite color. Great way to help orient them. Hey, Bob, your bedroom is the blue bedroom. Great way to help them remain independent. The other piece is to think about sound, and as much as possible, I know it's not always easy, is to reduce noise disturbances as much as possible. And when we are using sounds, trying to think about them in a positive way. So incorporating music from someone's time of their 20s and 30s, incorporating nature sounds can be very therapeutic. And then creating a space for some more quiet time or more leisure activities if possible, if you've got a lot of commotion or a lot of people maybe in one space. So the next couple of slides, again, kind of go into some of the infrastructure considerations. I want to encourage you to take some time to look at the website. I've cited it here. It's Enabling Environments. It's out of Australia. I'm on the website a lot. I spend a lot of time. It's very user-friendly. You can go on and kind of toggle and pick which type of living space that you're wanting to look at. It can offer you different ideas to incorporate different things that maybe you hadn't in the past. Because this is a screenshot, it won't do it, but the plus signs on each of them, it will tell you why it incorporated the feature that it did. And I just learned something every time I go to it. So again, I'm just going to highlight a couple other additions to think about it in terms of infrastructure updates to dementia-friendly homes. So incorporating those wayfinding tools as much as possible. You can see there's a calendar here with maybe the weather. You can see the labeling of the drawers here, like we just showed previously. They've got really good lighting in this room. They've got the lighting on above, but they also have a night light on or a small end table light, and the curtains are drawn and you can see outside. They use color contrasting furniture and bedding, so you can see that the floor is a different color than the bedspread. They've got opportunities to reduce reflective surfaces. So maybe someone does enjoy their television, but when the TV's off, it offers a reflective, kind of like a mirror type of surface, but they have a cupboard, kind of a hutch in the corner there that can be closed if that's frightening for a person. And I think probably my favorite piece of this entire image is the wardrobe, which is off to at least my right. And you can see that minimal wardrobe selections are available to the person. Now, we all would know that the person has more to wear than just what's there. But what they've done is they've limited the choices so it doesn't have to be as complicated of a decision or frustrating for the person. They can still have a choice, but it's limited, and it just makes them more successful. Again, this is another one of the images from the Enabling Environments website in a bathroom. I know that we all don't have the walk-in showers with the floor drains, which are great. If you're thinking about remodeling, it's a great thing to do in terms of safety and in terms of cleanliness. But if not, that's okay. I think the colored grab bars, the knobs, the different things that you can incorporate with a colored contrast is a really great cost-effective strategy to use. And trying to think about your flooring as much as possible that it's anti-slip and anti-reflective. I think this is the last picture I'll show of the living spaces from this website, but this looks at more of a common area, maybe a TV room or a living room. And you can see in the top photo, there's a lot of great opportunities for people to sit. They can sit and face the television. They could sit in a more private area together and do something, maybe read a book. or play a game together. It's a great option for people. You can also see the color contrast in the furniture. You can see that that's different from the sofa to the floor. You can also see even those little doilies. I think at least that's what I call them. Really great to put those on. I don't think they cost much at all, but that can give a person a good cue to that's where they can put their hands to get down or to stand. Let me go back one more time because I want to show you that bottom screen. I wanted to make sure there wasn't another one. The bottom picture you can see is kind of an extension of that living area. And if your home or program area has the space, I love the idea of giving an opportunity for just a more quieter area. You can see they've got a chair at the bottom with a small table and maybe some preferred items that the person can look at. Again, another great way for someone that may be overstimulated by too much noise. I just wanted to put in a couple of questions to ask as you're thinking about home considerations or making some changes. I know you guys are already doing this, thinking about the individual's needs and their interests and what are they, thinking about the composition and the group size of the individuals that are in the home or in the program site, thinking about if the building layout is welcoming and is it accessible, and then making sure that we have available activities for engagement. Is there enough activities for people to do things with? And likewise, is there too much for someone to do? Sometimes we go into different homes and everything's out, which is great. There's puzzles, there's coloring, there's music, karaoke machine, there's the fish tanks right there. Everything's right there for someone to have readily available to them, but sometimes too much is too much. And again, thinking about ways that you could have good storage to put things away if that can become overwhelming for someone. All right, so we're still going through thinking about, now we've moved past the infrastructure piece and thinking about how we're supporting families and other natural support, especially if they have a loved one with going through age or cognitive related decline. Continuing to offer, if possible, family education and training and ways for them to connect with others. Ensuring that you have someone at your agency that's able to work through life planning needs for them. And if not, do you have a place that you could refer them to make sure that they have those important documents up to date and current? We see a lot of times as parents are continuing to age themselves or maybe have passed on, that siblings are coming into play or other natural supports. And sometimes those documents aren't available or not complete. So keeping that in mind is really important. And I also want to encourage you to have the tough conversations too. So I mentioned grief and loss support as well. I think that's not just talking about death and dying. It could be a lot of different components that a family may need support with that may not always ask for it. Watching their loved one lose skills, or watching their loved one lose their place of employment, or lose a friend. All of those types of things are very difficult, and a caregiver surely would, I'm sure, benefit from some great resources. So to have those available is a great idea. So I want to kind of get into, I think this is kind of the third step here, looking at some of the practical approaches to care. We've talked about what aging and dementia is. We've talked about some infrastructure updates, and now what else can we do? I'm sure many of you are already doing this and maintaining a really good individual inventory of the people that you're caring for. And again, thinking about who they are, not just today, but who are they going to be in 5 and 10 years from now? And how do your programs or services need to change to accommodate those needs? Prevention is always a great strategy. So when we think about making sure we're promoting healthy aging habits into a person's life, focusing on those things right here of a healthy diet, engaging in physical activity, making sure that we're getting good restorative sleep, opportunities for social interaction, and opportunities to engage cognitively with things that are meaningful to them. Another really great practical tip, I think out of everything I say today, this is probably one of the most important and one of the easiest things that you can do is to conduct a baseline screening assessment for the individuals that you serve. So we're going to look at that now. This is a tool that was developed by the National Task Group, and it's called the Early Detection Screen for Dementia. It's available online. There's an image source there at the bottom. You can find it. It's available online for free. You can complete it online. It's a fillable document. You could also print it and handwrite it and complete it, whatever your preference. But it's an administrative tool that's designed to help family caregivers and agencies to record observations of change in function for a person. The tool is recommended to be used for people that have Down syndrome at age 35 for a baseline, and for people with other types of intellectual or developmental disability at age 40 for their baseline. Typically, the tool itself can take anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. I would say it runs a little bit longer if it's your first time going through the tool. And it is completed with a team and people that know the person for at least 6 months, because you're sharing observations and change that you've noticed in the person. The results of the tool can be shared with the person's primary care physician, which is a really great way to, maintain that communication with the person's medical providers. I want to highlight that the tool itself is not diagnostic. So as you're going through it, at the end of it, you're not going to be able to say, yes, this person has dementia, or no, they don't have dementia. What it's going to tell you is different changes that you're seeing. And it looks at those changes across 8 different subscales or 8 different domains. So it's going to ask questions about a person's activities of daily living and their personal care routine. It will ask things about their language and communication skills. How are they sleeping? Their ambulation and their gait, their memory. It will also look at things like their behavior, their mood, their affect. There is a small few questions for the person to report problems if they bring those up to the team, and the team member can share that. And then the bottom includes notable significant changes that are observed by you as the team member. Again, so this is a form that can be downloaded. The Kennedy Willis Center is happy to help you. You just have to call us. We do a lot of these virtually and provide you a completed tool at the end with a summary. So we're going to look at some of the common things that we see, especially in dementia, and then what can we do about it? Because you may already have an aging population in your agency. So I wanted to leave you with some strategies that I thought would be helpful. So some of the behavior symptoms that we see that are occurring across all stages of dementia, but are common, are things like disinterest and withdrawal, personality or mood changes. Maybe somebody was very friendly, very outgoing, earlier on, and lately they've just been a little off, or they're a little bit more subdued. We can see a lot of changes in someone related to agitation or aggression, changes in their sleep, that maybe someone, switching their days and their nights, someone who's getting up earlier than they ever have, or acting more tired during their day and taking naps when they hadn't in the past. And other behavioral symptoms of paranoia and hallucination can be common. So what are some of the things that we're seeing? And then we'll talk about just some of the responses that we can do if we're seeing some of these behaviors. Wandering can be very common, and this is different than eloping. We can talk about that later if anyone has a question, but wandering is more of that aimless kind of wandering, maybe that dazed look where someone doesn't seem to be sure where they're going, or there's no real purpose behind where they're moving. I want to encourage you to not stop the person. Wandering is a great source of physical activity, and getting that person up and moving is fine. They're likely looking for something to do. So similar to rummaging and hoarding, you can give the person something tangible to do while they're walking around. They may be able to sort through things. Maybe you can ask them to help you with a task. They can help you in the kitchen. Could they help you hold something? Could they help you sort something through or put something away? And even if it's not done correctly, that's okay. The point is that they're helping you and you're giving them something to do, and they have purpose behind that. Another common behavior can be that increased forgetfulness. We talked a lot about memory loss and repetitive questions. And I know as a provider, I know as caregivers or staff, it can be hard to hear the repetitive questions over and over again. A lot of times they're what day of the week it is, what time is it, or when something's going to happen. Just encouraging you to try to answer that question, even if it's the 10th time, the same way that you answered it the first time. because for them, it's the first time that they're asking you that. So try to be, pleasant, but, using the same answers as you had in the past. We can also support a lot of repetitive questions or forgetfulness with incorporating visual schedules or other visual cues to help reorient the person back to maybe a calendar or a picture of something so they are comforted knowing what's coming. We also sometimes see the crying, shouting, and aggression. Obviously, trying to stay calm and providing reassurance is important. What's important about if we're seeing a lot of crying and shouting, especially if it seems to be out of the blue, it could be a response to pain or hunger, thirst, or even needing to use the bathroom. So if that's happening a lot, you want to rule out pain first, and then try to go through those other types of, human needs that we all have. When was the last time they ate? Could we offer them a snack or something to drink? Could we offer them time in the bathroom if they need? A couple other common behaviors that I wanted to just go over was the resistance and refusal of care. What we'll hear from provider agencies and staff, caregivers in particular, is this is the hardest because this is the time when we're helping someone maybe in the shower, helping with toothbrushing, and those are things that we want to help the person accomplish. So trying to allow time and offer that again later. So maybe, I know we always try to have the shower at 7 p.m. and the person isn't feeling it right now. Try again a little bit later. And then at the end of the day, if it's just not a good day, maybe we try the shower tomorrow. It's not going to hurt anything to give it a little bit more time. Trying to lessen the to-do list as much as possible. Maybe again, there's always been this set routine. We have to accomplish X, Y, and Z every night. Maybe tonight we just accomplish X and we're okay with that. And then also setting up the space can be really helpful, especially related to showers. So, you're getting the person ready to get in the shower, but maybe we go in early. We have the towel ready. We have the shampoo and the soaps ready. We turn the water on so it's nice and warm. Bathrooms can be cold and pretty sterile feeling. So getting that space warm can be very comforting for the person. Maybe putting on a little bit of light music that that they would like and encouraging them can be helpful. And then lastly, when we're thinking of sleep and wake disturbances, it's okay to allow that daytime nap. Sometimes we'll hear, well, they can't nap. They're at program. We can't have someone nap. I think we have to be a little flexible here. If it becomes consistent, that's something to think about. But sometimes just a quick 5-10 minute resting our eyes, putting our feet up is helpful. We can allow the person to wander safely if they're up at night. Again, if you're with the person and watching to make sure that they're going to be safe. And then trying to restart the nighttime routine is another great strategy to try. Say it's 2 a.m. and the person's up and thinks it's time for program, time to go to work. Trying to restart that nighttime routine. Maybe it's, getting our teeth brushed again, and maybe it's changing into our pajamas. Even if they already have pajamas on, change into a different pair and go right back to bed. We have found that to be a really successful strategy. And again, something else that we're trying to share with caregivers. So just a couple other helpful tips that I wanted to share. Knowing that the person isn't seeing the world the same way that we do is really, really important. And what we think is normal and going through our day-to-day may be confusing or even threatening for the person. So trying to remain patient, calm, supportive, and understanding is obviously really important. And entering their reality is really important. And we'll give you some examples of how to do that right now. So sometimes we give the example here and you can already see the answer, so we're kind of cheating a little bit, but validation and redirection are 2 phenomenal communication strategies that we can teach our staff and even share with our family members to help their loved one who's going through a troubling time. So we gave the example under validation of someone with dementia feeling like something was stolen of theirs. We just picked a purse, but it could be a wallet, it could be another preferred item, and they're very upset that something was stolen. A way to validate someone could be, I would be upset if that happened to me too. I'll help you look for it, or let me help you look for it. Instead of arguing with the person and saying, no one stole your purse, That's not true. You just left it somewhere. That's just walking us into a battle that we really don't want to be in. So we're trying to accept the reality. Maybe the purse is right behind him on the chair, but helping them look for what it is and being their friend can really help reduce agitation. Likewise, redirection. All we're doing here is changing the focus and the attention towards something that's more preferred. So the example that we picked here was a person becoming upset that they needed to leave to go to work. But say today was Saturday and there wasn't any work, but the person was adamant that there was. So how do we handle that? And the example here of a response of use of redirection would be to encourage the person back. Hey, I just finished making breakfast. Let's start with that first, and then you'll be ready for your day. Again, these are really kind of simplified strategies that we can use to help reduce agitation that we can share with our staff and other caregivers to help the person get through their day. I put reorientation in here. We would encourage you not to use that as much as possible. Reorientation would be the strategy where you're trying to reacquaint someone back or reorient them back to the situation. So if we said that before, someone's adamant that today is Saturday, but today is Tuesday, getting in an argument with them is not going to help. So guess what? Today's Saturday and we're having a good day on Saturday. So trying to relax those rules a little bit can be very helpful. So the point of sharing some of those support strategies, I think we could spend a lot of time talking about those. We could probably have a whole nother discussion just about that. But the purpose is really to try to reduce or eliminate those challenging behaviors and trying to focus on supporting the person and support the remaining abilities that they do have because they're going through changes that are difficult for them to face too. So providing meaningful and failure-free activities. The next slide will show you a couple pictures of some things, failure-free activities, respecting the person and their changing needs, and allowing the person to do as much as they can for themselves as long as they can. A lot of times as caregivers, we want to do for someone and we see someone struggling. So we go right in and we help. I think there's, a time and place for that, and working with the person to do as much as they can for themselves is going to help them feel good. And that's really important. And lastly, remembering to stay flexible. Some of those strategies that I shared with you before, maybe redirection isn't going to be helpful. And we've got to go back and try something different the next day. So being mindful to be flexible is really important with this process as well. I've put in just a couple few pictures of things that are helpful failure-free activities. These are things that a person can engage in, especially if they're having a hard time. We probably already have them in all of our sites, our homes. Nobody can do any of these things wrong. We can't listen to music wrong. We can't color wrong. We can't really do any of these things wrong, and it can be very helpful for the person. Give them something meaningful and productive to do. So I'm wrapping up. I wanted to just share with you the available services through the Kennedy Willis Center. I've listed them here. We're happy to help in any way. Our contact information will be on the next slide, but we do a lot of case consultation and problem solving. We can offer foundational or specialty webinars. Those baseline screening assessments, the EDSD that we talked about previously, we're happy to help with those, as well as caregiver resources. So your families or natural supports, we're happy to do some education and outreach with them, as well as looking at some of your environments and offering recommendations. We talked a little bit about the internal process development, maybe those aging committees or clinical rounds. And then we've got some other services that are available as part of Thomas Jefferson University that we could talk about if anyone's interested. So there's our contact information. Again, I know it was a lot in one presentation, but I'm very happy to be here and appreciate everybody's time.